Wasn't that lovely? Good afternoon. Welcome to Lake Chapala Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Ted Fahy, and I am today's service associate for this growing, journeying community. Reverend Matt Alspaugh will be presenting our message this afternoon. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. May you find solace, understanding, and connection in our shared journey. Our opening words this afternoon are by Sharon Wiley. It's okay to be tired of change. It is okay to be tired of everything different. Okay to feel weary of resiliency and wholeness and learning and growth, and okay to yearn simply for rest. It's okay to be grouchy and unsatisfied in all the ordinary human ways of being that we are. Let this afternoon be a reminder that you are loved. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. May you be comforted in knowing that whatever you are feeling today and other days, you are not alone. You are never alone. Come, let us worship together. If you're new and would like to receive our newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of the Welcome team or write to us at info@lcuuf.org. Would members of the Welcome team please stand up? Thank you for your service. Look at that. I want to take a moment to extend a very warm welcome to everyone who's visiting us for the first time or have returned or reconnected with us after a long absence. As Flo passes the mic, I invite you to say where you're from and give us your name if you're comfortable. If you're on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat box and it will be read aloud in the fellowship. So we'll start with the people in the room.
My name is Judy. I am from Oregon. I arrived here July 1st. I am so thrilled to be with you. And thank you so much for I think you guys are sponsoring a class on the culture of Mexico. That drew me to you. So thank you so much for offering this to all of the Americans that are coming.
Anyone else? Do we have any visitors on Zoom this afternoon?
Yes, from Hannah Frederick. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Budapest.
Wow. Here at LCUUF, we offer a wide variety of services on various topics presented by our members, outside guests, as well as our minister, the Reverend Matt Alspaugh. We hope you will return to sample this variety of thought and belief. Our chalice lighting words today are by Francis Kostlar. May we light this chalice today to remind us of the power and the beauty of balance and contrast. It is darkness that can make the flame of a single candle so powerful, and light that deepens those shadows in turn. A chalice flame is the meeting point, the union of the refuge, safety, and the incredible beauty of darkness, and the warmth, the assurance, and the joy of light. May this act of lighting our chalice this morning remind us that we are stronger together in all the complexities and conditions of relationship, because we are different, because we are one. Now, having lit our chalice, let us sing these words together.
Kindle this night in celebration for the life that we share.
Each week we come together to lament with, celebrate with, and care for one another in our community. Love is not only at the center of our UU values, it's also the opening that invites us to lament, celebrate, and care as we briefly share our personal joys, sorrows, and our milestones. There is power in the sharing, as we hold each other in community. Just a sentence or two is enough. We'll start with the folks in the room to give those on Zoom a chance to type joys and sorrows into the chat to be read out loud in the fellowship. As the mic is passed, please share your sorrows, whatever you may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts, and/or your joys, whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes within you a feeling of joy, peace, or gladness. Are there any joys or sorrows that people would like to share here in the room?
This is Larry. I want to say Alaska was absolutely beautiful, but the warmth of being back home is so wonderful.
Hi, I'm Devorah, and this may take a minute. I'm finding today's service very timely because within the last probably less than 10 days, I have had 2 husbands of good friends have passed. My housekeeper's son died this last week, and a longtime, very good friend ended her journey with dementia this past Tuesday. So I'm holding all of them. But my joy is that some of you got to meet my kids when they were here, my son and his family, and they went home this past week, but we had a wonderful, wonderful time together, and I just so appreciate my family. And one other, not sorrow, frustration maybe, my car is dying, which is very frustrating.
Anyone else? Are there any joys and sorrows that were shared on Zoom this afternoon?
I have one from Trudy. I have a joy this week. Today is Bobby Dannenbrink's birthday, and Saturday is Lamar Allen's birthday.
And another candle from our care team, we light to represent the joys and sorrows spoken and witnessed today, as well as those we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Let us share a moment of silence. Okay. Scroll up just a little. Thank you. As we know, the work of our fellowship within these walls and beyond takes our time, treasure, and talents. The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as lighting our chalice. It's a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It's how we show that we believe it's important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. As we pass the baskets, if you're new here today or if you're struggling to hold things together, please let the basket pass you by. Your presence is more than enough and is a gift to us. Please know that we give the money collected at the service to an organization providing benefits to our lakeside community. For July, we're donating the basket to Niñas Sabias, which mentors and empowers young girls, and the description is on the monitor. May this offering sustain and grow the life and work of this congregation, and may we give in love and in hope for a better world. The opening hymn, up a little more, is Comfort Me. This type of song, it's a very distinctive song type. It's called a zipper song, in which only a few words change in each of the verses. So what makes it fun is if some of you want to play with harmonization in the later verses, you can, but only if you want to. So please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing Comfort Me.
Good morning, afternoon, middle of the day, whatever. We have a short litany, actually written by one of our own. This short litany or responsive reading is a reflection about loss. And by Suzanne, thank you. This is, as we read this, I invite you to reflect on the losses of others around us and of our own losses and acknowledge and honor them. So I invite you to read the italic text, and I will read the italic text, and you read the bold and yellow text, and it might appear magically on the screen here in a moment. Yes. For those who have lost loved ones through death, separation, or departure to another place where they are no longer visible in one's daily life.
We acknowledge your loss and support you in your moments of sorrow.
For those who are living within dementia and are losing cognitive abilities, an accustomed social life, confidence in themselves and in their own identity. For those who have lost the companionship and essence of a family member or close friend who is living with dementia or cognitive impairment. For those who have lost an expected future through a diagnosis of progressive and incurable disease. For those who have lost independence or self-identity through the demands of full-time caregiving. For those who have lost functioning of or entire body organs, resulting in diminished hearing, vision, ability to manage normal functions, and requiring a great relearning and an altered self-image. For those who have lost mobility through health problems that impair their ability to manage daily needs or socialize with others in ways in which they are accustomed. For those who have lost longtime canine or feline family members who have provided companionship and connection with other humans, living or deceased. For those who have lost objects, large and small, of high or insignificant financial value, that have been important in connecting them to friends and family who exist now only in memory or as ancestors. For those who are losing the anchors that have held them to the world we knew and trusted, but which is breaking apart. And so now let us take a few moments, few quiet moments, to reflect on all those losses of those around us. Just a few moments of silence as we might turn inward and reflect. Blessed be.
We have a very short video from a TEDx talk by Lucy Hone, an expert on grief and resilience.
So I'd like to start, if I may, by asking you some questions. If you've ever lost someone you truly love, ever had your heart broken, ever struggled through an acrimonious divorce, or been the victim of infidelity, please stand up. If standing up isn't accessible to you, you can put your hand up. Please stay standing and keep your hand up there. If you've ever lived through a natural disaster, been bullied or been made redundant, stand on up. If you've ever had a miscarriage, if you've ever had an abortion or struggled through infertility, please stand up. Finally, if you or anyone you love has had to cope with mental illness, dementia, some form of physical impairment, or cope with suicide, please stand up. Look around you. Adversity doesn't discriminate. If you are alive, you are going to have to, or you've already had to, deal with some tough times. Thank you, everyone. Take a seat.
So that video clip we just saw was from a TED Talk by Lucy Hone, who is a researcher on resiliency at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand. She had people stand up if they encountered various different kinds of loss in their lives. So let's do that also. I'll invite people to stand or raise your hands and remain up as I name various losses. And you on Zoom, I invite you to turn on your camera and hold up your hand, and we'll put the Zoom gallery up here, on the monitors here, and of course you can see both going on your Zoom screen. So I'm using Lucy's words. If you've ever lost someone you've truly loved, had your heart broken, ever struggled through an acrimonious divorce, or been the victim of infidelity, please stand up or raise your hand. And of course, yes, please stay standing. If you've ever lived through a natural disaster, been bullied, been fired or made redundant, please stand up. If you've ever had a miscarriage or had an abortion or struggled with infertility, please stand up. And finally, if you or anyone you love has had to cope with mental illness, dementia, some form of physical impairment, or cope with suicide, please stand. And at the end of the clip, Lucy pretty much has the whole room standing, and I think we and our Zoom folks have as well. She reminds us, you can sit down. She reminds us that loss is in essence universal, that we all suffer losses, and we suffer the grief that comes with those losses. Now, when I prepare memorial services or celebrations of life, I like to include a few words about grief. And in these words, I often include a wonderful quote by Helen Keller. She wrote, "We bereaved are not alone. We belong to the largest company of those who have known suffering." And I think Keller is on to something here. For too many of us, we suffer our losses alone. Now, some of us don't want to bother others with our grief. Or maybe it's that we have been given too much bad advice about grieving. Lucy Hone, as we heard earlier, lost her 12-year-old daughter in a horrific car accident. The family was headed for a beach vacation with two other families, and her daughter rode in a car with other parents carrying that family, and it was hit by a driver who ran a stop sign, and everyone in the car was killed. and she described the terrible hours after learning her daughter was dead, of having to go to the morgue to identify the body, of sleepless nights, of endless self-doubt. Should she have allowed her daughter to ride with these other parents? She described the advice that well-meaning people gave her, that she would have to go through those 5 stages of grief that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross developed. You know, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Worse, she describes the advice that grief counselors gave her. Let me quote her. I remember them saying to me, "You're going to need to write up 5 years off of your life to this grief. You're not going to be able to function for the next 5 years." And that we were now prime candidates for divorce, family estrangement, and mental illness. And honestly, I remember thinking, wow, I already thought my life was truly terrible. I can't believe that people are dumping this on us as well. And I was horrified. End quote. So to me, it's a little wonder that people choose to grieve alone. It's little wonder that we might not want to share that we have a cancer diagnosis or are dealing with a relationship issues or that a family member has died. We don't want that kind of advice. And we also don't want to be shunned, forgotten, which is often what other people do when they don't know what to say or do around people facing great loss. Another thing I like to tell people at memorial services is this. We all grieve differently and at different times. I tell them this because I don't want them to feel like they're not grieving right or enough or following the steps correctly. One of the key researchers in grief is Dr. George Bonanno, who is a professor in clinical psychology at Columbia University in the US. He pushes back on the 5 stages of grief model, pointing out that not everyone grieves in the same way with the same intensity. In his research, he sees roughly 3 general patterns of grieving. A small fraction of people, maybe 1 in 10, suffer the most. There's a line at the top of this chart. These are people who enter into what Bonanno calls prolonged or chronic grieving, often suffering for years with grief, narrowing down the focus of their lives. Now, a second group of people, maybe 1 in 4, suffer what he calls the recovery pattern. They grieve intensely for a few months, perhaps as long as a year. And then the intensity recedes and they become the person they were before the loss. And finally, something like 2/3 of the people experience what he calls the resilience pattern, which is the line at the bottom. They suffer intensely for a few days or a few weeks, but then their life comes back together. As he puts it, they accept the loss, they readjust their sense of what is, and they move on. Sometimes the intensity may not be related to the nature of the loss. Complicated situations can make grieving harder. This might be when the loss is ambiguous. For example, when someone has disappeared and is presumed dead. Or it might be when the culture judges the loss. For example, with suicide or diseases like HIV. So we might expect some people to deal with these as a more profound grief than others. But we should be careful in judging how somebody grieves. Grief is quite paradoxical. We may grieve more intensely for what some would consider small losses than we do for big losses. This has been my personal experience. And it's almost with some embarrassment that I share this, and I haven't shared it publicly before. But I felt a much greater intensity of grief when our first dog, our dear dog Kaylee, died than I did when my dad died. I cried much more. Those waves of grief were much more acute, and I felt confused by this strange emotional response. I tried to understand what was going on in my mind. I mean, my relationship with my dad was not a bad one. I loved him. But one thing was this. Our relationship with our dog Kaylee she was there every day. And I only saw my dad a few times a year. So missing her was much more present for me. But there was another aspect too. My dad suffered increasing dementia in the last years of his life. And in the final days of that time, he did not even know who we were. So for me, this was a case of complicated grief. I had actually, in a way, pre-grieved him, grieving the loss of him bit by bit, so that by the time he was gone, the grief was combined with a large sense of relief. So we should not judge the manner by which those around us grieve. As I tell people, there is no one right way to grieve. So a couple who had just lost their daughter shared what their therapist said to them. The therapist said to the husband, "I tell you this, if you judge how your wife is grieving, or if she judges how you are grieving, maybe you're not grieving enough, maybe you're grieving too much, maybe you're doing this and it's not good for you, or whatever, you'll split up. So what I recommend you do is to go on your own journey of grief, your own journeys of grief. You respect the other person's journey of grief. You communicate, but you may end up doing things differently." End quote. So grief is not the same for everyone.
So this is a poem by the American poet Albert Hofstadter. We think we get over things. We don't get over things. Or say, we get over the measles, but not a broken heart. We need to make that distinction. The things that become part of our experience never become less a part of our experience. How can I say it? The way to get over a life is to die. Short of that, you move with it. You let the pain be pain. Not in the hope that it will vanish, but in the faith that it will fit in, find its place in the shape of things, and be then not any less pain, but true to form. Because anything natural has an inherent shape and will flow towards it. And a life is as natural as a leaf. That's what we're looking for. Not the end of a thing, but the shape of it. Wisdom is seeing the shape of your life without obliterating, without getting over a single instant of it.
So now we get into communal grief, the grief that we share with others. Certainly there's the shared grief that a family may carry when they have a loss. Maybe the death of a family member, or perhaps a relationship fracture. How the family members handle that loss, how they grieve together, can affect their future together. For some families are like solar systems, with the members orbiting the glowing sun of a patriarch or matriarch, and when that person dies, the family flies apart. In my own family, there was a time of frayed relations, even cut off for a time among the siblings after my last parent died. So the grief story is not just about how individuals grieve, but how the family as a group grieves together. Then I think of larger, maybe more diffuse groups who face loss. Perhaps it's a work team that gets eliminated when their project is canceled. I mean, we almost never talk about grief in the workplace, and so those team members typically suffer in silence. Or perhaps a town or region must deal with losses from a natural disaster, like the flooding in central Texas a week or two ago. We've seen examples of incredibly beautiful and generous responses to such losses, but also surprisingly awful and callous responses as well. Then there are the larger societal losses. I know that many people from the United States of America are grieving right now over the erosion of democracy and the rule of law occurring in that country. We are grieving the hollowing out of scientific inquiry and the devaluing of academic research in general. And people worldwide are grieving the decline of a dream of a peaceable world community, a community interconnected where people cross borders and work together to solve global problems. And furthermore, many of us are grieving the damage to the natural environment due to climate change and other harms of unconstrained economic growth. We grieve not just the damage, but the denial that lives in the hearts of so many people, especially those in positions of power. And these are just a few of the communal losses that people here may be grieving. So how do we get through shared grief for larger losses like these? I think we use the same tools that we use to travel our own individual grief journeys. So let me borrow 3 suggestions from Lucy Hone. First, we need to realize that suffering is part of life, and it's true with shared suffering as well. We saw how we deal with individual losses, and similarly we can deal with shared losses. We need to realize that there's no magical path of progress onward and upward forever. No simple solutions that will solve complex problems. Living in this world is not easy. The poet Albert Huffstickler told us, that's what we're looking for. Not the end of a thing, but the shape of it. Wisdom is seeing the shape of your life without obliterating or getting over a single instant of it. Second, Hone notes that resilient people are really good at living the serenity prayer, at least in part. They may not call it that. That is to say, they accept the things they cannot change themselves, and they focus on the things that they can change. Psychologists call this benefit finding, she says. And we might see it as a gratitude practice, finding the things to be grateful for and supporting those in our lives, not the things that will take us down. And finally, she notes that she constantly asks the question, is what I'm doing helping or harming me? Is constantly scrolling the news or reading upsetting posts from friends really helpful? I mean, they call it doom scrolling for a reason. Or maybe I'm taking tiny steps towards building a possible better future. As Hone puts it, this puts us back in the driver's seat, giving us at least some control over our experiences. So I think with shared grief experiences, we can ask each other this question. Is what we're doing together harmful or helpful? Are we just amping each other up? Or can we be doing things together that can help us cope and move forward together? In difficult times, it's good for us to not merely acknowledge that we have faced shared loss, but to support each other as we grieve this loss. Maybe may we, not maybe, may we find the tools that help us navigate through grief as individuals and share those tools with others who are around us. And thus, as the poet said, may this shared grief will find its way in the shape of things. And we, with a shared wisdom, will see the shape of our lives without obliterating a single instant of it. Blessed be.
Our closing hymn is, you all know this, it's Lean on Me by R&B singer and songwriter Bill Withers. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing.
So we have had some discussion over the last week about which version of that song do we use. There's a version in a UUA hymnal, and then of course there's the version online, and then of course there's the version that we all have in our heads. And so we each choose, but that's the nature of being a Unitarian Universalist, right? So in the end, each of us finds our own way through grief, because our grief connects us with others who are also grieving, not just the immediate ones who grieve with us here and now, but with that large company of everyone who has known suffering and who grieves with us. Even as we grieve, let us strive to be strong enough so that others can lean on us. And let us be willing also to lean on others when we need their support. May we share our grief together, that we may all live more fully. May it be so.
You all sounded wonderful. Really. So back down. Let us extinguish our chalice with these words which we read together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world. our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace and with a purpose.